A wonderful good Friday morning to you there, and thanks so much that you're staying right here with us. We told you yesterday we were going to come back this morning. We have fulfilled our promises. We're back, and back to make sure that you have a wonderful weekend, beginning from now till 9 a.m. when we'll wrap up the show. I'm Bright, but the guys and the ladies are all here. Johnny, Solis, and Nanama. She said we should stop calling her Amma, but her name is Nanama. I don't know what
I didn't say stop calling me. I don't even know where it started from. But the name my father and mother consented to give me is Nana Amma. It's simple. It's just 3 names. You want to reduce it to 2. Then what will I do? Very soon will be left with 1. I beg you.
You will change it very soon.
Oh, but even if I change, I'll still have 3. I know I'll have
Nana
3.
Amma.
Nana Amma, yes. Like Hoffman.
All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead. We'll call you Nana Amma Ajima. Okay.
It's just like saying Na Kwale or Na Kwako.
Yes. Okay. Oh, you know what we'll do? We'll do Nana Amma Ajima PhD.
Oh no, I don't like that.
Okay.
Just Nana
or like Nana Amma Dafiamokmo.
Johnny, you don't
like that.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You have Solis Rose Quarter. Solis Rose Na Kwale Quarter. Na Kwale Quarter.
Yeah.
No. Na Kwale Quarter.
Then you put into bracket MPH at the end.
No.
All right. Charlie, I understand that these days when you hear your name being mentioned and actually nobody is calling you, it means that your village witches are testing your microphone. They are testing your microphone. It's a setup. Don't respond.
But what if it's God calling you? Because you know, in the case of Samuel and Eli, you know, he runs to Eli and says, "You're calling."
But why is it that in movies you always have God, you know, with a deep voice?
I know they should probably try God with a female voice and say, "Hi, Samuel." You know,
because Bright has been receiving the call, but because the male voice.
But I mean, last night when we met, he was a man. So I'm wondering what am I talking.
He and God. They meet
last night. Yeah.
Maybe 11:30
this morning,
no,
just before I left.
He conforms to what you want.
Yeah, even this morning before.
I
know we have a regular morning breakfast around 4:30.
What do you eat?
The word of God.
We do a lot of African dishes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're in Africa, we do.
Oh, I see. So God can eat kontomire stew.
Yeah.
But when you come from witch hunting, God actually decides to meet with you.
Yeah, he prefers that a lot. He said that's what we should actually be eating.
It's healthier.
So we've gone our way and we're eating all kinds of nasty stuff.
That's why we're getting.
He's worried about it.
That's not surprising because in the Garden of Eden he made the fresh fruits and everything. We're supposed to enjoy it.
So were they frying like kelewele in the garden?
No. When you pluck, you just eat now. It's already made.
So they were fruitarians.
Yes, that's a good one.
All right. Good morning, Ghana, once again. I think you can join us. Johnny, these days I don't get to see a lot of comments.
Yeah. I mean, we'll read. I mean, it's because Cyril doesn't.
He's not been doing. Our producer's not been doing.
No. He takes the phone away. So
he's using China phone.
Don't be private.
But you send your messages. We'll read them. I promise. I promise. 05082352228. Send them in, and we'll share them with you. Have you seen Solis's new shoe?
Oh,
check
man.
it out.
I was just waiting for you.
Sweet orange. Sweet shoe. Coco, please, can you zoom into the shoe so we can?
Oh God,
guys!
No, please.
I do love my shoes.
The shoe is
other
nice.
women love wigs and stuff. For me, it's just shoes.
I'm told that women usually have the same color, but you have 3 articles that will have the same color. So your top is orange, your shoe is orange.
Oh, this just happened.
What else is orange? Really?
If you know it's not true, show me.
No comment. Right, it's now time for us to find out what's happening in the health sector, education, politics, of course, weather as well. We'll be right back. Good morning once again. I am Solis Rose Quarty. Now the details. The Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, has debunked claims that government is not doing enough in maintaining law and order in the country. Reacting to concerns over attacks by pro-NPP vigilante groups on public officials, he said some arrests have been made and perpetrators convicted.
Between January and October 15 this year, cases of attacks by pro-NPP groups have been recorded, with the recent ones being an attack on the district chief executives of Karaga in the northern region and Sisala West in the upper west region. The Interior Ministry and other security officials have been blamed for their inability to deal with the issue, but the sector minister disagrees.
I have issued definite directives that police commanders responsible for various areas where there are acts of vigilantism to either get the culprits, bring them to book, or be sanctioned. That is the arrangement now.
On the floor of Parliament Wednesday, the minority leader asked the minister to take action.
It is not enough to condemn. It is only adequate to punish. And all you hear is the Minister for Interior say henceforth. What henceforth?
Well, I don't know if the arrest of party executive in Karaga and Gulu is talk. That is action. And as I speak to you today, we've got some of our members who have been convicted. What do they have to show us? We have evidence that we have sent anybody who has committed offenses to court.
Some police officers have complained on various media platforms of political interference as reasons why they are unable to fight the menace.
If they know any politician that is making it possible for them to do their work, it's left to them to come forward and state who they are. In any event, they will be sanctioned, and they should know that nobody is going to save them from that sanction.
And lecturers in colleges of education nationwide have withdrawn their services. The aggrieved teachers are demanding the payment of their 10-month salary arrears.
Government last year upgraded teacher training colleges into tertiary institutions. Salaries of lecturers in the institutions were thereafter pegged at that of university lecturers. This compelled the lecturers to demand retention premium of 10%, but was not paid to them. They again demanded inter-market premium, but that was also not paid to them by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. Most disturbing to the lecturers currently is the delay by government to pay their 10 months arrears after being upgraded to tertiary status. The aggrieved lecturers petitioned the National Labour Commission and the Finance Ministry, but the issues remain unresolved.
You claim I'm a tertiary tutor, and so even if it is category C, category A people are receiving theirs, that's the universities. Category B people, that's the POTAC. They are receiving it. So how come SITA can't also have his? And it's been so bad that it looks as if the teacher's reward is always in heaven, so people don't value us.
The student body has expressed worry a prolonged strike would impact negatively on academic work.
Some classes were supposed to have some quizzes, and others too were supposed to undertake some activities, for which, because of this very strike, it's not going to occur.
Behind me are some of the students who are currently in private discussions, doing their own independent discussions, are waiting for the lecturer to come, or are waiting when lecturers will resume work. Now currently the issue is getting so troubling because I have with me a lady here. What group discussion are you having?
It's a maths group discussion.
Mathematics? Yes. What about it?
We are discussing on the methods of teaching mathematics, as in how to teach children to learn mathematics, numbers.
Yeah. But a lecturer was supposed to have taken you through this. Yeah. Where is he?
They said they are on strike, so we have to do it ourselves. We have to put ourselves into groups and then discuss this among ourselves.
Right. Now, how disturbed are you with this ongoing strike?
We are actually worried because this is the first time we have been introduced the methodologies. But then, since most of the tutors are not on campus, I think it's going to affect us at the long run because we are not very familiar with the subject areas, and then we need the tutors to guide us through. So I think we'll really be affected without the tutors.
Right. So you realize that the frustrations are gradually increasing, and they are pleading on government to intervene immediately and pay the arrears of their disgruntled and aggrieved lecturers. Daniel Bawku, TV3 News.
Now, still in education, a group calling itself the Concerned Citizens of Winneba have asked the president to be swift in resolving the ongoing impasse at the University of Education, Winneba. The group said any delay on the part of the president could deepen the already existing cracks between the lecturers' front at the university.
The issues have been lingering for more than 3 months. Government is yet to take a firm decision after the matter was arraigned before court. The current board chairman, Professor Abakan, is yet to bring finality to the matter. The situation has created division between UTAG lecturers on the Winneba campus. A few days ago, the local chapter UTAG president, University of Winneba, filed another case at the Supreme Court for determination. The president is praying the court to interpret whether government has the power to interfere in the academic freedom of the universities. That notwithstanding, a group calling itself Concerned Citizens of Winneba has called on President Akufo-Addo to intervene.
We, the concerned citizens, want the government of His Excellency, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, to be wary of the president that could be triggered by this ungodly removal of Professor Mauto Aboke.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has underscored the need for lasting peace at Bawku to engender socio-economic development of the area. He made the observation while welcoming the Bawku Naba and some other chiefs of the area at the Flagstaff House here in Accra.
The visit of the Zubrana, Bawku, Naba, Asigri, Abokrago, the second and divisional chiefs of the Bawku traditional area was to reciprocate an earlier visit by the president last October. The chiefs lauded government for implementing its policies.
You gave us the assurance that you are going to continue with the important projects that had only just started in the Bawku traditional area, partly the Bawku-Bolgatanga Road and the Tamne Dam construction. Certainly, these are very expensive projects and would have found excuses to discontinue or postpone them. We have seen that you have kept to your promise and works are in progress at both places. We are indeed very grateful to your administration.
President Akufo-Addo said all sides in the Bawku conflict should continue to maintain the peace in the area.
But it's important that all sides, because one person cannot fight, it takes two people to fight, that all sides continue to exercise restraint and comport themselves so that the peace that we're seeing today in Bawku can continue. There's a lot that we have to do together to develop the area and to develop Ghana. Without peace, we cannot do it. So I'm happy that today the peace is prevailing in the area and that you are doing your best to make sure that it remains peaceful.
He stressed government resolved to fulfill all its campaign promises.
I am determined that the policy of free senior high school will continue and continue and continue so that all our children always have the opportunity to go to school. It's not been done for politics. It's not been done for votes. It's being done for the development of our country.
And now to a trending story. After rendering an unqualified apology for his outbursts, largely considered partisan, discriminatory and divisive, the minority in Parliament is maintaining its stance that Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa, George A.C. Boateng, should resign. George A.C., in comments to MPP students in Kumasi, pledged to prioritize New Patriotic Party or MPP members in the execution of his mandate. The minority, in a statement, indicated that Mr. A.C. Boateng's apology will not suffice since he initially treated with contempt Ghanaians' demand of him to retract and apologize for his unconscionable, bigoted and unconstitutional remarks. Now, away from that, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Tremonting, says the private sector will be spearheading the implementation of the One District, One Factory initiative. Now, he was in Parliament to answer questions on the implementation plan and the start of the One District, One Factory project.
The Trade and Industry Minister said the ministry has received 473 business proposals for the One District, One Factory initiative, adding its consultants have completed technical, financial and commercial viability analysis of 462 of the proposals received. He said out of the number, 191 covering 102 districts have been selected for the implementation.
There are 216 districts in Ghana. So now you have 102 districts implementation plans ready. How about the remaining districts?
Only until we have the full indication that a particular district may not necessarily have a business promoter or investor interested in establishing a particular factory, then government will take a decision on a case-by-case basis.
Some MPs wanted clarity on funding for the initiative since it had no budgetary allocation in the 2017 budget.
What we are seeking to do as a government is to support the private sector to be able to mobilize investments to establish these factories on a case-by-case basis. And so the provision of financial resources from the government is only to complement the investments that will be coming from the private sector.
On the Commander Sugar Factory, the minister said detailed status report is being prepared before it can start operation.
The detailed project report would also give us an indication of the time frame for the plantation development exercise to be completed. It is only when we have clarity on those two time frames that I will be able to provide a detailed answer.
The office, of the former president, Mahama, has dismissed allegations that the former president influenced the construction and renovation of a multi-purpose guest house for cocoa board at Bole in the northern region. A statement signed by his spokesperson, Joyce Bar Mukhtar, refuted the claims, noting the structure put up in 1970 could not have been through the influence of the former president.
Documents cited by TV3 showed the refurbished guest house with an attached new outhouse at Bole was constructed by Messrs. Gazelle Enterprise Limited. The project commenced on January 18, 2016 with original completion date scheduled for September 30, 2016. However, the completion date was revised to November 30. The guest house has 8 rooms scheduled to be re-roofed, painted, retiling, and creation of an outdoor seating area and changing of sanitary ware. The newly built executive wing has 5 bedrooms, 2 suites on the ground floor and 3 on the first floor, fully furnished with a driver's quarters. Cocoa Board maintains the decision by the former administration to spend 5 million cedis on the facility cannot be justified.
Could you for a second just sit down and answer the question? Okay, so Cocoa Board decided to build a 5-bedroom luxurious house plus a 4-bedroom driver's quarters attached to it in Bole. What possibly could be the reason why Cocoa Board would do this?
The former president, John Mahama's office, has responded to the allegation, describing it as baseless.
It is bogus, it is dishonest, and that it is a very slanderous piece of information to put out there that Cocoa Research Institute has had guest houses in and around Ghana for many, many years. I have actually been reliably informed that these buildings have been in existence since the 1970s from one of those Cocoa Research guest houses here in Accra. So are we trying then to say that all the other constructions were influenced either by sitting presidents or former presidents?
So how does Cocoa Board prove the former president influenced the construction of the facility?
I will not be able to come and give you a document to say that the former president wrote a letter to Cocoa Board, asking Cocoa Board to put up such a facility. But of course, there are people with institutional memory who are aware of what transpired. And that could only be the justification for such a facility in Bawley.
With all these allegations, among others, leveled against the former Cocoa Board head who is being investigated, will Cocoa Board consider trading off the facility?
I will not suggest that we may do this or we may do that. Management will take a decision on what to do with that facility.
Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Accra.
Right, so traders and commercial transport operators in the Central Business District of Kumasi are to be relocated to ease vehicular and human congestion within the city. The relocation will also pave way for contractors working on the KJTR redevelopment project to access and upgrade artillery roads around the project site. Now, this is a report by Benjamin Adu.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has been meeting with traders and registered transport unions in Kumasi on the relocation exercise to commence on Monday, November 6. It will be carried out at Edum, Dr. Mensa Kelitia, Pampaso, Konfanochi Teaching Hospital Roundabout and Swami Roundabout. The affected traders and transport operators will be moved to the rehabilitated racecourse and Abinchi markets to ease the congestion in the Central Business District. The exercise is also to prepare for the final funeral rites of the late Asante Hima to be held from December 1 to 16. The Kumasi Metropolitan Chief Executive, Osei Esibe Entry, said there will be no discrimination in the relocation and the exercise sustained to ensure sanity in the Central Business District. Several decongestion exercises in the Ashanti regional capital in the past were unsuccessful as protesting traders and drivers clashed with KMA officials.
Now, away from that onto some politics, the three-member committee tasked to develop an action plan for the reorganization of the People's National Convention has completed its report. Now, the report, which is yet to be presented to the party's standing committee, recommends an early Congress to reposition the party for victory in the next general elections.
The People's National Convention, PNC, last month set up a three-member committee to develop an action plan for the reorganization of the party after a standing committee meeting. The communications director and member of the committee, Emmanuel Wilson, hinted the report is ready and will be presented to the standing committee this month.
We are just waiting for the appropriate day in this month, November, so that we can have a standing committee meeting. Then we'll present our report to the standing committee. When it is accepted, the next thing that is going to be done is that we'll present it or we'll forward it to the National Executive Council meeting, which is, the highest body aside Congress.
He enumerated reasons for the reorganization of the party.
We are no more interested in presenting PNC as an election party. So we just surface when it is an election year. We want to do the right thing by putting the structures that needs to be put in place so that 2020 will not just be part of the numbers that will contest the election, but we are going to make a significant impact.
Emmanuel Wilson is confident an early Congress will improve the fortunes of the party in the 2020 general elections.
Practically, if you have new executives being formed in a general election year, it means that they have less than a year to prepare itself and go into the general elections. And these are some of the things that we are trying to avoid.
Will the PNC consider a measure to present a stronger force ahead of the 2020 elections?
But the mandate the PNC has per the last Congress is that we should find a possible way of going into a unity talk of any sort with the Convention People's Party and not with any other political party.
On the General Secretary, Atik Mohammed, he said he remains suspended. Two other members of the committee are former Member of Parliament for Bolgatanga, David Apasara, and Acting General Secretary, Jacob Amwakon.
Now, government's drive to create jobs has always come with questions of sustainability and fair treatment. Now, for these reasons, some individuals have started questioning how the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan would address unemployment in Ghana. Now, our reporter, Godfrey Tanam, was at a media launch of Entrepreneurship and Innovation Week and has come through with the following report.
One of the major campaign messages in the 2016 general elections was whether the government then had done enough in creating jobs. Then candidate Nana Akufo-Addo told Ghanaians job creation was his priority, which has been identified as one of the reasons for his electoral victory. President Akufo-Addo in July this year launched the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan with the promise that new businesses will emerge and given the space to grow. The CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan, John Kumasi, says the program designed for every Ghanaian is intended to get both the employed and unemployed to develop their business ideas.
We are not looking for party colors. I have consistently stated that. You don't even have to tell us what party you belong to. We are not interested. We are looking at ideas. What creative ideas do you have on job creation? What innovative business idea do you have? Engage us with your ideas and not on your party colors, and you receive the support.
CEO of Africa's SME organization, Yawa Sama, noted the program will give support to individuals who have good business ideas.
We'll be giving funding in equity, soft loans, and also another funding mechanism will be business support. Then we'll be offering training to traditional SMEs, incubators, accelerators, and trainer of trainers.
The National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan, NEIP, is a flagship policy initiative of the government with the primary objective of providing an integrated national support for startups and small businesses.
It's now time for us to find out what to expect by way of weather for the next few hours.
The weather report is brought to you by
Well, that's all for morning news here on TV3. I am Solis Rose Quarty. Right, Johnny and Nanama return shortly after this. Don't go away.
Welcome back. So it's time for headlines, and let's see what the papers have for us this morning. Ghanaian Times says we'll deal with free SHS challenges. That's coming from the president. Also, YEA to engage 500 youth in ICT training. Then Honorable Ablakwa says AC Boateng's apology forced and insincere. Then also we have implementation of one district, one factory, 191 cars ready to take off in 102 districts. That's coming from the Minister of Trade, Alan Tremating.
Okay.
Yeah, good news there.
AC Boateng's apology.
Yeah.
It will never go away.
It will go away.
I think the minority is calling for his head. And, you know, some of the issues that they've raised include the fact that South Africa itself has issues of a history of apartheid. They have issues of xenophobia. And that statement he made was divisive. And so, I mean, it was a diplomatic blunder. And, for example, he should be pulled off so we can have a replacement for him, so that that person could go to the table and have a conversation with them.
But you know, I can see on the Independent, it says, coming from Ayoko Boche, who's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, she says AC Boateng's apology puts matter to rest.
So
I mean,
if
this
we have to take it
that Madam Ayoko is speaking for government, so it's official position of government, then it means that government said we will not relieve him of his job. He has apologized, so we'll move on. So we'll move on. We'll also move on. I think that people will make their own deductions out of what has happened. I mean, these days I said that when these issues break, since the majority cannot have any basis, for instance, to haul him before Parliament and perhaps cause his removal, they can only ask that he be removed from office. Government says, if that is true, from Madam Ayoko Boju's words, that he has apologized, and so that's the end of it. We leave the rest to the public to take a decision. So that's it.
But for me, I mean, the bigger issue is the lessons that we draw from it. You know, this is diplomacy. The president himself doesn't make that statement, and you are.
He is calling for
exactly.
Unity. He's even asked that we become how do you call it? Citizens, not
spectators. Right. Okay. And you are a representative of the president. So if I give you power of attorney to go and represent me, and you go make a statement that
you don't do your own,
okay, it's all right.
You know, but for me, it sets a precedent against which all others will be judged. Because if we let him go, that's not to say we are attacking his personality or whatever. But if we all agree this was not in the right frame, and we allow it to go, subsequently, if someone does it, are we going to have to sit on this matter? Or again, because you allowed AC Boateng to go, then it stands to say everyone will be allowed to go. I, for one, have an issue with this because this is almost the second time where something as grievous as this is happening. The first one was on tribalistic grounds. Yes,
but even that Mr. Kwetu resigned. He pulled out.
Exactly.
And he's been replaced accordingly.
Exactly. So you know, the balancing of how we respond to these things is confusing, because now in my position, I would hope no one will say something like this, but you and I know very well that it's likely to happen again. And when it does, are we going to have to discuss this for weeks on end?
If you're putting the two together, Honorable Kwetu and Honorable Ambassador AC Boateng together, when Honorable Kwetu made the statement and he came under heavy fire, he didn't say take it or leave it. He apologized and he says, well, he was misunderstood. And when he was getting, so much pressure, he says, well, let me go. Mr. AC Boateng said it, and when he was told, his attention was called, he says, take it or leave it. And then the apology was delayed until the apology came. And now we're being told, well, the apology puts matters to rest, if that's what the Independence is reporting is correct. So it leaves us, and you see, Mr. Kwetu's is local, whereas Mr. AC Boateng's is international. The international community is watching. What are we doing? And what lessons do we draw from it? So that if, for example, another ambassador or high commissioner can go and stand somewhere and make a statement, and the argument in defense I've heard is that, oh, he was speaking to TESCOM people. Your business, as soon as you become a diplomat, is not to be focused on party issues, but to be focused on nationalistic and international matters, because you are a representative of all of us globally. Globally, that's the worry, that's the concern.
But the Times of the story is about for me, the 109 Corps is ready to take off the one district, one factory. I would love to see us begin to take a look at what's happening at the Kumasi, the one that they thought was cut to have the project take off. Okay. As for the ones that are coming, we keep hearing every day that these factories are coming. There's a great need for it. Look, the problems we're having, the people who are running into court and seizing court material and being fined 1,800, people in Karaga seizing DCE's offices, Techiman, all these are as a result of a job issue. People looking for jobs. I think that the trade minister must be more and more open. I mean, what I hear him is he keeps telling us that this is ready to take up, this is ready to take up, this is ready to take up. I think that we need to see action. If a Kumasi one has started, let us begin to see what exactly is happening to it. As for the ones taking off, we know they will take off. So that at least we can. Mr. AC Boateng is in trouble because there's no job. If there's a job, I wouldn't. Yes, he's in trouble.
That's not the impression we get from the Flagstaff.
No, he's in, look. You think that this is an issue that will die naturally? It will not. Look, if you're a student of Ghanaian politics, you know the NPP is toying with this. when they go to sleep, they know that in 2020 and in 2024,
it will come up again.
That audio will ring in their head every campaign journey they take. They know. So the man is okay. He's apologized. He's gone. Madam Ayekubochu says he's apologized, so that's okay. But they know, those who are the politicians, those who map up campaign strategies know that
it will be a headache for them.
And in 2024, this audio will ring in their heads anytime they mount the platform. So, for me, the trade minister should let us see more action.
Yesterday, the trade minister...
I would have loved to see 10 being made to quickly start instead of 191 ready to take off.
You know, yesterday in Parliament, he told Parliament that the private sector will lead the fray in championing this. I think we've heard that over and over again, like Bright is saying. So, as of now, we know banks will have earmarked monies for this. UMB, for example, is set aside some $100 million for it. How much of it has been assessed at this point? And how many entrepreneurs have come forward so that we know that in the Volta region we can have 2, in the Central region we can have 2, this. Let's know, rather than say 191 is ready. It sounds more vague and ambiguous and all of that.
10 taking off.
And we were told that it will start in September. Well, September, October, we're in November, and we're still being told it will start. For us, the jobs for the majority of the younger people is very crucial, because the devil finds work for the idle hand. If the people don't have jobs, they will foment trouble. They will.
Anyway, moving on to Daily Graphic, it says former President Mahama had no hand in renovation of guesthouse. Also, government entrepreneurship fund invites applications. Then, Kwewu East towns deserted. Schools affected following clashes with Fulani headsmen.
The sad one is the schools that have been affected. If indeed that is the situation, then I guess we need to quickly go in there and see to it. Schools are in the middle of the term now, getting ready to write the exams. Terminal exam. So if schools there have been closed down, it's a sad situation.
Midterm tests and midterm assessments.
And eventually, I mean, when it comes to writing BEC, we won't say your area was in conflict, so hold on, or we'll give you some extra time. You still write with everyone else.
That is the whole point.
They have to see to this.
Anyway, we're sure that our ministers are listening.
Yes, before we go, you see, the John Mahama Cocoa Board thing.
Right.
You see, I would always continue to say that we have to get to a point where these allegations, that tarnish the image of people are stopped. Look, Cocoa Board, if indeed the man Opuni is under investigation, that's what I know, except it is not true. If indeed Mr. Opuni is, Dr. Opuni is under investigation, please, let us end the investigations and proceed to court. This throwing of allegations here and there and mentioning of names, it doesn't help. It doesn't help the fight against corruption. Let us conclude investigations. Dr. Opuni, if indeed he's done anything wrong, he faces a competent court of jurisdiction, then we can see a finality. But to throw this out in the public domain and begin to have debate, commentary about it, what is the end? Where do we go? Look, the minority holds a press conference, and then Cocoa Board Chief Executive comes out with this. Does it mean that he wouldn't have told us this until the minority's press conference?
You see, is that the situation? It's a big question, and for me, I'm particularly worried that it's on the front page of the Daily Graphic. You remember when the Galamsey issue, but I'm talking about the Daily Graphic, not to say take a swipe at them. But when the Galamsey issue came, remember the BNI report that says allegedly, and the Daily Graphic publicized it, and now then we had Ocheni and others demanding for an apology from them. Journalism is supposed to be a two-way approach. So somebody's been mentioned. You take the microphone to that other person, and you get their audi alteram partem rule. That's what it is. But if you go on and publish what is, and as Senior Bright is saying, would we not have known if some of the things don't add up?
I think that if the Opuni is under investigation, let's finish the investigations. Then all this will come. The evidence is gathered. Then we'll proceed to court.
In this era of what we call, we're told awam apology. This is awam apology and ghost cocoa roads. This is what tilapia had for us. So it looks like Okujetua Black Rice says, I want forced insincere tears.
Anyway.
So that is it.
But Johnny and Bright, if currently you were, serving as a national service personnel and you were forced, as it were, to be under an insurance policy that you didn't really sign up for, would you be amused about that? Would you have wanted them?
The point is that the folks in Accra and city centers would not find this, interesting. But if you had to be around some Pevier, or you have to be at Asim Mesumago or someplace, you would appreciate this, where you have to cross rivers to go and be able to teach children or to go and offer your national service. You would appreciate an insurance policy. I think that there's nowhere in the National Service Act that says that if the National Service Secretariat wants to implement an insurance policy or anything of the sort, they need to call every service personnel or their leadership. And I understand that their leadership engaged, the National Service personnel before, they implemented this. My concern is the National Service personnel who are raising the red flags. Are they going to have the negotiations on their own behalf? And is it just going to be for this batch of National Service people? What if those who come after them say, we want the insurance policy? Will we have the back and the forth?
Exactly. That's where if I was a national service personnel, what I was hoping they'll do is not make it mandatory. It's optional. Even as an adult who works and gets a salary, you decide where to take your insurance policy from. It's not by force. You don't have to tie me to it, because these are people who are getting allowances. So like you said, if I'm not going to benefit from it in the long term, really, 15 CDs premium for someone who's getting about 600 roughly CDs is a big deal for them. And so it's optional. I would come to the negotiation table and tell you, if you want to sign up to this package that we have formulated for you, it will be a good idea. Then you buy into it. I don't think it has to be tied down and strict.
I don't think it's going to be, well, I don't support the optional bit, because if you, for example, are in some village in the Ashanti region like Trapatre, and you are a teacher, and for example you get bitten by a snake or something like that, you would need this.
So you'll sign up for it.
And then if you, how would you know that you would need it, that on such and such a day?
So it's a matter of luck. It's just like how right now sitting here, if I tell you I don't have an insurance policy, that's my own business.
So that if it does happen, we will find these same national service people come to the media and say, "Mon can be mine now. I buy a coming."
Johnny, that would be one out of many.
But you see, yesterday what I did was to try and go back and look at the national service scheme and what it means. What I found out is that, you see, when a service person is posted to a particular entity, he or she enjoys the welfare package of that entity should anything happen to that person.
Right.
So if a service person is posted to TV3, whatever insurance policy we have here, it covers that person. That is what I found out of the scheme by the Act. So teachers, wherever entity you're posted to, you enjoy the welfare package there. So the question I asked then is, if the scheme allows that, then what is this insurance 150 cedis, 15 cedis insurance scheme for? What is it for?
Senior Bright, you see, is it a policy of no contribution, no chop?
I don't. That is
because
not
if it's there, if it's there, you will enjoy. That you will enjoy. For example, if you join TV3,
yes, the welfare scheme here,
and everybody here pays.
If you pass out, TV3 is supposed to see you off the way they would have seen their
beautiful. But see, Senior George, Senior Bright, everybody at TV3 pays some amount of money into the welfare fund. So when you come in as a national service person to want to benefit, whose deduction will be made for you to benefit?
Whose
deduction will be made for you to benefit?
You see,
that's why I'm saying, so it's optional.
The scheme has a way of contributing to these entities.
Beautiful.
It is an in and out thing. So by the scheme, if you're posted to A, B, or C, the scheme says the welfare package there you're supposed to enjoy.
So I think that's why the NSS says we'll take 15% of your money and give it to the corporation you are going to.
No, but
so that when it's time, they can deduct for you.
In this situation, the 15% we're told is going to the insurance company and not to the entities that these persons are going to.
Well, let's run with George Queening out there on the street. I'm sure Kobe Asante Afrifa, whose birthday was yesterday, is enjoying. Enjoy this.
Ghanaian students who graduate from accredited tertiary institutions are required by law to do a one-year national service to the country, and it might come as seeking their welfare, but scores of national service personnel have kicked against an insurance policy implemented for them. And for them, they think the decision was unilateral because they were not engaged in the decision. The scheme will see a monthly deduction of 15 cedis from their allowance until the service is over. And so the question is, should it be mandatory or optional? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
This service personnel is taking 559 Ghana cedis for the month. Actually, after the degree, you should take something worth 1,002 and above, ideally. But this is the case, you are doing service and you are paying the government back, you understand? And you are being paid 559. Now, you have to be deducted 15 cedis for an insurance package.
15 for credit.
You're a big boy. You're on TV every day.
Chicken change.
See, back in the days when I was doing my service, tell me 5 Ghana come no benyase. Charlie, it's serious like that. You see, even we who think, oh, we are managing car, life is not easy like that. So imagine a service personnel, 559. You're taking 15 cedis. Now you say you give the person loan.
Would you look at the bigger picture? Insurance.
There's no bigger picture. Insurance shouldn't be compulsory. It shouldn't be compulsory.
The thing is that, give me time to just do a little breakdown. First and foremost, like he said, insurance is not compulsory. That is true. But one thing we all have to realize over here is that when you get into any company like yours, like mine, and there's an insurance policy, excuse me to say, you don't go say you want to opt out. It is for all the workers and you are supposed to be a part of it. Somebody made that decision. So it must not have been compulsory, but it's still been impounded on you and you're taking it. Secondly, I think that a couple of days ago, we were all the same people who were discussing leverage. We were apparently complimenting the IGP for introducing the insurance policy for the police officers. You understand? Oh, we don't know the nitty-gritties of that very policy.
No.
We don't know the nitty-gritties of that insurance policy. Please, no. We are being factual, and I'm saying that I do not. We are not really privy to that. We are not privy to it. We are not privy to it. As far as I know, let me tell you,
there was no deduction.
No. As far as I know,
there is a 15 cedis deduction.
As far as I know, Ghana Police Service. As far as I know, from my father's pay slip, they pay welfare dues. They pay some other dues. All right. I'm not sure where the money is coming from, and I'm not sure if that very insurance policy has started rolling. Maybe the details did not come out. But let's not look at it that way.
See, this is
now again. One thing I also need to state, in as much as we complimented the IGP for this very for that very initiative, we all made mention of the fact that moving fast forward, every single industry in this very company and this very country should be follow suit. All right. I don't know what is wrong with the national service person getting insured. We don't know what is going to happen to them.
It should be on the government.
No, I have a problem. Listen, I will have a problem. Frankly, I have a problem with the amounts.
15 cedis.
Yes, the 15 cedis I have a problem with.
You mean it's
frankly speaking, I think it's too much. I could have suggested 5 cedis each.
How much credit do you buy a day?
No, in a day, on my personal account, I buy credit like 2 cedis. You see, company gives me company gives me advice to make calls. So I don't know what to say.
Actually, we're looking at a policy like this. It's fine. It's a good one. You can't take that one out. But why should you impose it on service personnel?
But if you say impose,
it doesn't make sense. Go sit in your chambers and come out and say, these people want to give you an insurance package. They even bring in something like movie tickets, airtime. I mean, for what? I mean, and even you see, the most annoying thing is the package of the insurance scheme. Be specific with airtime they are giving them. Same card and airtime. They are like complementary goods. They're complementary goods. They don't need them.
If you guys say they are in position, I don't get it because I know the secretariat starts with NASPA.
No, I don't get it. I don't get it when
it's a body that represents.
In any ways, we couldn't have been going to call for a referendum. We couldn't have been going to call for a referendum as a result of this. That is why we have the National Service Personnel Association. So now they are representing representatives are supposed to come.
Yeah.
They voted for them. So they are supposed to come and say yes or no. You understand?
Yeah.
Oh, are you saying that we don't have a current? We don't have a current national? We do.
Please. Okay. So like as I was saying, majority of the personnel are saying they are not aware of this and they are not on board. You know why? Because they were not consulted. So who did they sit with?
So now
let me put
how are they going to consult them?
Chill, let me put that aside. You know, after the year, every private institution pays the government 20%.
They do.
You are being paid 20%, and you're still levying these guys 15 cedis. They are contributing to your development because you did something for them. You know what an insurance is? You should pay on their behalf. So why do you actually deduct their money? This is the case. No, relax.
You know, companies they deduct from their workers.
No. PF, no, relax. PF, you pay 5%. Oh, relax. PF, you pay 5%. Oh, relax. Let me tell you. PF, Providence Fund, you pay 5%. The employer pays 5% for you. SNIT, the employer pays 13%. You pay 5.5%. Who is paying more? The employer. So in this case, the government is the employer, and the annoying part is chill. The annoying part is
no. I'm not gonna chill. I'm not gonna chill. Let me tell you, for every employer, let me tell you, before any employer puts your salary on board, he knows what he's supposed to be paying. And so apparently, if you really want to calculate the reality of it, it is all a part of what the employer is giving you.
But the thing,
you understand what I'm saying?
This thing is not fair.
Listen, let me tell you what. You know what? The truth of the matter is that the fact that you have an office you are sitting in, fully air conditioned, nothing is happening to you, does not mean that you don't need an insurance. And the fact that you are in there does not mean someone is not in Yankulu, whatever.
You enjoy this insurance.
No, I wouldn't have paid. Relax. I'm paying 15 cedis every month. If I don't fall sick and if I don't get any issue, this money goes to Glyco.
That's why it's insurance.
That's why I'm not on board. So give me that privilege. Take me off it. Why do you make it compulsory? You get my point?
From what my learned colleague is saying, it's good we all need insurance, but you can't tell me to go into an insurance policy compulsory. No, insurance is optional.
You know,
insurance, I can decide to get insured or not. I'm not. I
find it very interesting. You know what I find it very interesting?
Why?
They are all like, oh, it's not compulsory, it's not compulsory.
No, it's not compulsory.
Apparently, I wonder how this could have been possible.
You know how they are managing this thing? They are managing this thing like it's a nuclear family. You see, they are managing it like it's a nuclear family.
And others should not subscribe to it.
That is why I'm saying it's a nuclear family. You know, what you do in your nuclear family is you fund them, you do everything there. What you say binds everybody. This is a national entity. This is a national cake. Make sure everybody benefits. You don't sit in your room, sit with a few people and decide for them.
So you can see clearly someone is trying to make ends meet from this insurance package. Yes, of course. The thing is, every policy that will be initiated or implemented. No. Every policy that will be initiated or implemented is someone's job. There is some job somewhere. Yes. No. Glyco in conjunction with someone. There is always a percentage somewhere. That's why the whole thing is so shady. Because if that's not, we can't even know the real details of the insurance policy. And they are even making access of sovereign of 500 Ghana. I'm taking 5 not to give me. And you see, they didn't even state the interest of the loan. So perhaps maybe pay 700 after the loan.
Do you envisage that, let's say, at the end of the year, some percentage of the money accrued will be given to them?
No.
It will not happen. Before that, let me tell you something. You know the most painful part of this? They are saying you have freedom to browse on WhatsApp, browse on Facebook, browse on Twitter, Instagram, and browse on Glyco websites. Quiet on Glyco websites. National service near Facebook. Doesn't make sense. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Is this futuristic?
Is that insurance?
No. It's part of the insurance package. Isn't it sorrowful?
Please, I'm asking.
Go and browse on Glyco websites.
What is that? The entire.
It's part of it. It's part of it.
So it is
Isn't it pathetic?
It's a what?
Good. So if can't you do something that will help them gain employment? Please, can't you do something that will help them gain
employment? If you have been deducted 15 cedis and then you are getting 15,000 insurance cover, don't you like
when you die?
No.
When you die, the next of kin will get a 15,000. And also, whilst you are working, and maybe there's temporary.
No, you people are not reading the thing well.
In line of duty.
You don't know one thing about insurance. If it happens and you're going for your money, the actual policy, they will read, the meanings will read into it.
You are being very hypocritical.
No, I'm not being hypocritical. It is a service I'm rendering. No, it's not about your brethren. It's not about your brethren.
My brother is doing his national service, and I can understand.
It's a service I'm rendering back to the government. So why do you deduct my money?
Money is being taken away.
No, it's
But I think that the bigger picture at the end of the day is that we want to ensure all of against anything.
Did I agree?
Anything that
Did I agree?
Any unforeseen accident.
Why do you manage the country like your nuclear family?
This very same people who are criticizing this very same initiative. Don't worry, supposing this had not been we have not heard yet, but imagine that once upon a time we heard that something had happened to a national service person. You would hear what they'll come up to say. You know what they're asking? What is the insurance package for them?
Insurance package
These are the same Ghanaians who have to be paid by the government.
So the question is, so do you want it optional or mandatory? I know your stance already.
And the other thing is, the government should pay for this 15 cedi. Don't take it out. Nobody's saying it's bad, but don't take it out of the poor guy's money. The government should pay on behalf of them.
When you say government, sometimes I don't understand.
We are the government.
So the government should do the government. How could you possibly be saying the government should be doing that? Government should pay for your toilet, government should pay for your run out, government should pay for everything. So when you're paying your taxes, you are even complaining.
No, how much are you being deducted every month?
Just know you watching home can also partake in this discussion. What do you make of the insurance policy for national service personnel? Just log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's News on TV3, and on Twitter, it's a News TV3. Just be on the lookout. I might come to your community so we have a discussion like this. Thanks for watching.
The Times says 191 coils ready to take off in 102 districts. That's the implementation of the one district, one factory policy. And Heritage says Trump to scrap U.S. visa lottery. Daily Graphic, all East towns deserted, schools affected following clashes between Fulani herdsmen and farmers. And the Palaver says Akufo-Addo's daughter throws out tourism fund, locks up offices. Gold Street business, tax evasion is a life and death situation. The finance minister talking there. The finder says 1.2 million paid taxes to cater for 27 million Ghanaians. Mr. Kofi, they're working hard at increasing government revenue. And statesman Bole Cocoa Board Mansion, Mahama Hot. Daily Guide puts it, Mahama's guest house cost 8 million cedis. And the Independent says Mahama did not build a Creek guest house. Bar Mokhtari hits back at Cocoa Board boss. Those are some of the papers here this morning. My guest this morning, a member of the NDC's communication team, legal practitioner Abraham Amaliba is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
And hope you are doing great.
Very well.
I also have a member of the NPP, a Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Eric Amahuchum. Good morning, too.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great. I am great.
I hear you were in the Upper West.
Yes, I was in the Upper West region.
And you had the occasion to enjoy some, I confirm.
Oh, yeah. They're always available.
Which have returned from Burkina Faso. We thank God.
Oh, they went away. They are back. Yes. I see.
We thank God for the president.
Okay, bringing them back.
Making sure that at least that confirm
they are back. All right.
Even things that happen at the NDC. Even things that happen. You haven't been called to comment. Even things that happen at the NDC, you appropriate it yourself. When we go and commission something, you go and recommission it.
All right.
I don't think that the conversation has started.
No, it has not started.
So even if guinea fowls are already there, they will say they got guinea fowls
from the Upper West
Stream. The fact that
guinea fowls are already there.
Guinea fowls for him to enjoy.
It's under Akufo-Addo the guinea fowls have come to Ghana. Hey.
All right. Okay, gentlemen, let's begin from the northern region, rather. The Cocoa Board issue is gaining a lot of attention there. The Office of the President, the former President, has issued a statement. Page 13 of the news Daily Graphic has it that the Office of the former President has described as false claims by the Chief Executive of Cocoa Board that the former President had influenced the award of a contract to build a guest house in his hometown, Bole, in the northern region for his personal comfort. Among the office said that regrettable pattern of false and inaccurate information put up by Mr. Edu was intended to slander the former president. Among other things, Mr. Edu stated that President Mahama influenced the award of a contract to construct a guest house at Bole in the northern region to enable him to enjoy comfortable holidays during his visit to his constituency. This statement was signed by the special aide to the former president, Joyce Bar Mokhtari, and issued yesterday at the office of the former president. There are other issues there, but the statesman has a story suggesting that
the former president is hot over the issue. I just want to pull the statement so that we'll take a look at the story. And it says from the point of Cocoa Board that the office of John Dramani Mahama is desperately trying to distance the former president from the questionable circumstances surrounding the building of the guest house in his hometown Bole. The former president's spokesperson Joyce Mokhtari, seeking to counter the revelation by the CEO, said the guest house in question, the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana Research Station guest house, has been in existence since 1975 and could not possibly have been constructed during the tenure of President Mahama. The story goes ahead to say that Fifi Boafo, who is aide to the chief executive, has a document that shows that the building was actually put up in 2016. Eric, let me start with you. There is some counter-argument that the building was put up in 1975. Fifi Boafo says that it was put up in 2016. How do we verify this?
Well, I think that to start with, we'll say good morning to all the viewers of TV3 this morning, and then to your good selves, Messrs. Amaliba and yourself. It's important to, I mean, when you get an opportunity on a platform like that, to be very, I'd say, circumspect, and then also display a certain level of candor and show respect to, especially the ordinary Ghanaian who are watching this program. So I'm a bit restrained this morning because this is probably the most ridiculous attempt to either counter something that is obviously another classic example of the way our resources were plundered under the tenure of President John Mahama. I have been to that facility. Now, to even suggest that because there was some semblance of a guest house, which was built in 1975, and by virtue of that, after 20, 30-something years, almost 40 years, 42 or so years, you go and spend 8 million Ghana cedis to either renovate or rehabilitate the same facility. It has to be that there's no, it was an existing building that really you have just gone to renovate. I mean, come on, if you're talking about an amount of 8 million Ghana cedis for something which is in effect a 9-bedroom facility. It has a 4-bedroom apartment on the side, another 5-bedroom edifice on next to it. To suggest that, I mean, if you come out with that excuse, we should basically let it die. We should let sleeping dogs lie and just say that, oh, because it was built in 1975, that's it. It's akin to saying that, for instance, if you take, for instance, the University of Ghana, for instance, it was set up by somebody. However, from the time that University of Ghana was set up or was built, probably 90% of the buildings that existed did not exist at that time. But the point really is that it's just a classic example of the sort of administration and maladministration that we had to suffer as a people. And I would have expected that. I mean, even good counsel would have asked the spokesperson of the former president not to have even responded, because essentially what it has done is to open a can of worms, right? Because if you take the building as it was in 1975 and what is pertaining there at the moment, what actually is the new building that is sitting there, you can't compare the two. To start with, there's absolutely nothing wrong for the creek or the cocoa board to build an edifice like that for its staff or other members of the public to use when they travel up there. You understand? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you look at it from the perspective that an amount of 8 million Ghana cedis was spent to do that, you understand? I mean, we've had an opportunity, most people have had opportunity, the ordinary folk out there have had opportunities to probably get a 5-bedroom house somewhere. Does it cost 8 million Ghana cedis to build a house.
So you're questioning the cost of the facility?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that it is the sort of an attempt.
So it is not that it was built in Bole for the comfort of the president.
Then you move on from that.
Okay.
Where was the president staying when he visited Bole? Where was he staying when he visited Bole? You see, sometimes, I mean, when we do this kind of politics, if you're not careful, it becomes extremely petty, right? And trivial. And we trivialize some of these things, and it doesn't augur well, because we are talking about the office of the president, a former president aside. So I find it difficult to have this kind of conversation, and I'm actually extremely disappointed that that sort of counter came from them. When you do that, what it does is that it just opens so many things that...
The counter is that the former president did not influence...
It is unnecessary. Listen, you don't have to be a soothsayer, right? You don't have to be a sorcerer, or you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that some level of influence went into this.
So you're assuming that...
It is not an assumption. I am saying that the attempt to even counter this was needless to start with. Because what it does is that it opens all sort of things that we have to discuss. And I feel extremely uncomfortable because, right, we are talking about a former president here. You understand what I'm saying? And the thing is, the truth, the bare facts is blatant that some things went on that was not meant to be. I have seen...
Can be proven?
Yes, I have seen the facility myself. I have been there. Right, and I'm saying that
Cocoa Board built
it doesn't
to your estimation.
For me,
it is a high-class facility. It was
what is this? What is the high-class facility? What's a high-class facility? You're talking about 80 million Ghana cedis. If give and take $2 million to build that, is that what you're saying? I don't have to be a civil engineer or whatever to know that what it is that they've done, or a quantity surveyor to know that. Listen, these things are things that was a classic examples. It was symptomatic with the NDC administration that just left. I would have expected that. The leave asset is they investigate, but it has to be investigated. It has to be investigated. How come the processes that went through for that contract to be awarded to start with, and then also if we really got value for money, right? And then we can move on from that conversation, because I feel uneasy discussing
an issue like
this.
So it means that you agree with other commentators who say that since Dr. Puni was under investigation, this should not have been thrown out into the media, and that we should have concluded investigations before coming out?
What does throwing out in the media mean? This is a cheap...
alleging that the former president influenced the contract for the award.
This is a chief... I asked the question, and I hope that the spokesperson to the former president will come and answer this, but not directly to me. Where was he staying when he went to Bole? And then also, and that's absolutely nothing, doesn't mean that there's something wrong with him staying there. But the point is that...
So you also agree that the president can go and stay there since it's a citizen of Ghana?
For you to even attempt to even suggest that we or the ordinary folk do not have the mental capacity to understand what is going on, and actually say that, oh, because the building was there in 1975, it wasn't built under, or it wasn't influenced by President John Mahama. For me, that's where the ridiculousness starts.
Can you prove it, that it was influenced by the...
No, but what I've said to you is that...
I'm waiting for that proof.
But listen, this is coming from Cocoa Board, and saying that, that's the CEO, saying that these are the facts, right? And the fact that an amount of such amounts were actually spent, I don't know if he quoted the amount, was spent to build this facility. When this whole semantics, or when it comes to the technicalities as to if it was a new build or it was rehabilitated, as far as I'm concerned, it's neither here nor there. Because I am saying, and we can put it on record, that a 4- or 5-bedroom apartment, even if it's a 10-bedroom apartment, regardless of what sort of facilities you put in there, should not cost the taxpayer in this country 8 million Ghana cedis.
Okay, so that's a reaction to the Daily Guide quote, the 8 million cedis. Mr. Maleba, the issue by Eric, the Cocoa Board is suggesting that its problem had to do with the fact that the former president influenced
the construction of a guest house there for his comfort. For your colleague panelist here, his worry is the cost of the facility. Daily Guide put it at 8 million. The Cocoa Board did not put a figure to it.
Let me say good morning to your viewers. After listening to my colleague, I am more confused. I was confused when the chief executive came out with those statements he made. But I'm now more confused. Is the issue about the amount of money used to renovate and build an extra facility, or is about that former President Mahama influenced the building for his comfort? I don't know where we are now.
Right. So the Cocoa Board say, I am quoting the special assistant to the Cocoa Board per the statement story. Fifi Bawku explained that apart from Cocoa Board renovating the old facility, it put up 2 brand new facilities, executive guest house wing and drivers quarters. Now, hitherto refurbishing the old facility, Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana did not have 2 additional facilities. So the response by the former president begs the question, both facilities could not have been built in 1970, he said in a statement. So the worry is that the president influenced the construction of the 2 facilities in Bole for his comfort.
No, good. To start with, if you have a guest house, what point does it make to have a driver's quarters? Okay. Who's going to, you go as a guest, or you go to stay in a guest house, and then there's a driver's quarters attached to it. For what purpose?
Okay, so per that, it
I mean,
means
come on,
that
I mean, so that is why I'm saying
influence.
that if Abaliba attempts to even try to
okay, he has not started anything here, so you let him
the point
go.
is that that counter, that attempt to even counter has even muddied the waters. And
Okay.
the children have even
Okay,
attempted to
Mr. Malba will react. Please go on.
You will help restrain this man.
Oh, no. He was
when
only
I
coming.
also start talking. Restrain him because I did not.
No, today's
Now,
Friday, so that's no cause for Allah.
How many times would the media want to hear hoax stories from this government? Haven't you noticed that there's a certain trend about this government and lies? Why? Didn't we sit on this program to roast board members of Senate when the Senate management and the boss of Senate threw out pack of lies about the Senate boss and the board of Senate? It turned out that they were a pack of lies, but we had already crucified them. There's a trend.
What is it going on?
There's a trend in this government. You go and arrest ministers on a merit, and up to today, there's no report. They can't produce a report on the investigations. However, when 2 thieves in the Flagstaff house were alleged to have stolen money.
I mean, you see,
Mr. Amaliba,
but you have to restrain
if you can, no.
Have I mentioned somebody's name?
Mr. Amaliba, you can, you see, the Flagstaff House is the office of the president.
Yes.
Now, if you say
and we were
thieves,
told that
yes,
2 people in the Flagstaff House
all right.
per
so
A
please
plus
withdraw
yes.
the 2 thieves and say that A plus
A plus yes
okay.
A plus made that allegation that there were 2 people there who are thieves and that the president should check them. That report came out immediately. I am saying that anytime this government is under pressure, and check the time that this information was put out. Anytime this government is under pressure, they throw out something to muddy the waters.
It's not dealing with
it is about the fact that in this week, this president, this government has come under intense pressure following the statements made by Ayisi Boateng.
So the Cocoa Board issue is
you throw it in. Now, let me talk about this Cocoa Board thing. We all heard the chief executive say that the Mahama or President Mahama influenced the building of a guest house for his comfort. Full stop.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Full stop there. Now, if you make this statement, and we know that the guest house in question is a guest house that was built sometime in 1975, will put that out and say that, can you restrain this man? Can you ask him to can you restrain him and say that we are doing? Tell him that,
Eric, you allow him. I'm coming back.
Tell him that we are doing critical analysis here.
Mr. Ahmad, please.
So the critical analysis. Tell him that I am now analyzing the statements made by the chief executive. The chief executive simpliciter said that Mahama has influenced the building of a guest house for his comfort. Full stop. Wouldn't it be proper for a reaction to this? Has Mahama influenced the building of a guest house for his comfort? The answer is no. This guest house we are talking about was built in the 70s. Now, second, when they were defeated on that ground, they then said that, oh, there's an executive wing. But what would you have done to the psyche of the Ghanaian people? Hey, this man, when he was president, built a guest house for himself in Bole. I am subjecting the statements made by the chief executive to scrutiny. Because you did not say that there's a guest house by Cocoa Board, and then at the wing of it is an executive mansion. You said he built a guest house for himself. Now, when that was shut down, they then said, oh, it's an executive wing. And I asked the question. President Mahama comes from Bole. If the man actually wanted to build a house for his comfort, wouldn't it build it on family land? On which land was this building? Was it on a Cocoa Board premises? If the man wanted for comfort, wouldn't he build it at his family property? Now, if you also say, I'm doing critical analysis, if you say he influenced, then you must be capable of showing a letter, a correspondence, or anything that will connect him, that will connect the former president to the influence. How was the influence done? We want to know. You don't just come and throw out anything and think all of us, because some in their camp are shallow-minded, we should also think about that. We subject to strict scrutiny.
Is Cocoa Board right by building a guest house with an outhouse?
Now, that guest house has been a place for their workshops, seminars on matters related to cashew and share nut matters. And so it's a place that all their workers would go to have these conferences.
9 bedrooms.
Now, if they come to the conclusion that this guest house has outlived its usefulness, it is now not serving the purpose for which they have put it up, and they want to expand it, wouldn't they be right to expand it? I have just driven to I've seen some expansion work there. I have seen some expansion work there. Must you be influenced by somebody to do that? Now,
can they before I go, can the Cocoa Board chief executive now ask why a guest house has driver's quarters, if I should put it that way? Can they ask that question?
I have been reliably informed that what Cocoa Board intended to do is that they rehabilitated the old one, which will be used by the junior staff, and then had this executive wing that will be used by senior staff. That is what is in the public domain. And so if an organization decides that it wants to expand its facility, where does the former president comes in? And so I want us to be told that a letter dated 25th this and this, President Mahama influenced the building, or a correspondence, anyhow, oral or written. But to come and throw this out there and think that we'll chew on it. Look, I'm saying that we've had so much experience about the way this government threw out lies. And one of it is about the Senate I told you. So for how long would you people continue believing these people when everything they say comes to a nut?
Let me ask you this. The special assistant to the Cocoa Board CEO, Fifi Boafo, is saying that the building materials give former President Mahama away, suggesting that
I am trying to understand exactly what the building materials mean, but perhaps suggesting that the materials used might have suggested that of presidential materials.
I heard him yesterday and I cringed. All that he's saying is that the people of Bole do not deserve such a beautiful edifice.
Look at what here.
And that it must be only a president who would want such a building to be there. And that for people of Bole, such a building, they do not deserve such a building. Ask Boafo, when you go to the market to buy materials, are there some materials written for presidents only? For presidents only. And based on that, you say that it was Mahama who influences. So their reason for saying that President Mahama influenced the building was because of the type of material used. Can you imagine? Can you imagine their psyche, their mindset? The people of Volta, the people of Bole, the people of Bole. Would you let me finish my submission?
I'm coming to you.
The people of Bole do not deserve quality materials to be built in their backyard. It is only when the president orders that such to be done, that is when it will be done. But they do not deserve good things. That is the import of what he's saying.
Okay, I'm grateful.
You see, right. I think that this sort of crass politics should stop. And I think nobody has ever suggested that the building, and in any case, I have seen the building. And I'll be surprised that
it doesn't look presidential.
Listen, 10% of the people who've been living in Bole have seen this building. It's at the cocoa, in the compound of the cocoa research. It's actually on the outskirts
of Bole.
Of the town. It has absolutely nothing to do with if it's fit for any part of this country. That is the most ridiculous analogy he would even want to give. And this is a typical NDC, trying to whip up sentiments and create a certain siege mentality so that people would follow them. But we have gone beyond that sort of politics. You were given 8 years, an 8-year mandate in the last dispensation to rule this country. And even the people of Bole who are actually in the northern region, who are meant to have been benefiting from the SADA, did not see anything. So you sitting here and trying to basically even stoke some sort of sentiment is not what is going to help you as a political party. I would expect that this argument that the building was existing has been there since 1975, right, would have been countered with that this is the building sitting there, this is the sort of renovation that we've done, and that's it. But for you to go beyond that and build an executive wing and build a driver's quarters, and to start with, this whole analogy, this whole explanation that the executive wing
has two.
Let me finish.
The pictures of the old guest house and then the new one.
This attempt to say that the executive wing was meant for senior staff and for junior staff is bogus, because it's neither here nor there. I can tell you for a fact. Nobody in Cocoa board or nobody stayed in that executive house apart from President John Mahama, former President Mahama himself.
Since it was built.
Since it was built.
No one had stayed.
No senior executive or elderly member of the public has gone to stay there. Okay. You see, I don't want us to go, when we do that, it creates a certain perception that we are taking Ghanaians for a ride.
So
the thing is that
the building is, that executive is reserved for former president.
This is the refurbished one.
Okay.
This is a 5-bedroom. Even the executive wing is even bigger than the one that was meant to have been there to start with a driver's quarters. I am saying that they should come back and tell us who, apart from President Mahama, stayed in that executive house.
So what you're saying is that the executive building is reserved for former president.
Exactly. That's the point. Right. So don't even go there and try to say that, oh, we are trying to cover. What are we trying to cover? Listen, this is the point where we have to actually start discussing bread and butter issues, right? And I would have expected that a certain sort of apology should be coming from their end. That when you are given an opportunity, right, to pretend over the affairs of this country, this is how bad, this is the sort of crass governance that we were given. We planted our resources, did all sorts of things, And then you come and sit here and saying that, oh, you're trying to divert attention. Divert attention from what? The point is that when we do some of these things, the Ghanaians lose the sort of confidence that they should have in public officials, in leadership, and in politicians. And to sit here and even try to attempt to even defend this, my friend, come on. You would have gone to Bole 1,000,000 times. They would never have given you an opportunity to stay there.
What can, Mr. Malaba, I'll come to you. The building is reserved for former President Mahama. What can the current CEO do?
Time is going. They are talking to you.
Yeah, Eric, I'm asking you.
What is that? You talk things and
you are saying that.
What kind of currency? No, but the building is already there. It has to be put to good use. And if well and truly it was built for people to go on retreats and go and talk about issues pertaining to cashew and share and cocoa and all of those things, so let's use it. Let's open it to the public to also use. You travel to up north or you want a small time out, go and use it by all means, so that we can actually make use of it. But the point really is that the conversation is not about what it can be used for now. The CEO has gone into office. He's meant to do a clear audit of what has happened, what has transpired over the period, and give an account of that. And he's saying that per all the evidence that is shown, and this is so obvious, that this building was built for X, Y, Z. And that is what has come out. And we have to also now interrogate the issue and then also ask ourselves, is it the best way to use 8 million Ghana cedis of an ordinary Ghanaian taxpayers' money? Okay. That is also a conversation that we can have.
Okay, all right.
So for him to even suggest that, so even if you decide that you want to go and build with a sauna, with a jacuzzi, whatever, it's okay, it's fine. That's not what you are saying.
Okay. Right. It's Fifi Boafo who said that if you look at the building materials, it suggests it was influenced by President Maham. That's what he was reacting.
Yeah, tell Aliba to go and stay there.
Ask him to restrain himself.
Okay, Mr. Maliba, please react and then we'll move on.
He should restrain himself.
Come in and let's move on.
The proof of they are saying that President Mahama influenced the building is because of building materials. Can you understand this in this day and age that was used to put up the building?
You are digressing.
Can you
deal with that?
Would you ask this person to behave?
Conversation with you.
You are not conversing with me.
No, Eric, please allow him. Please allow him to.
You don't understand this program. I am not in a dialogue with you. If we go to the car park, we can dialogue. But here, I'm not in a dialogue with you.
All right.
Don't you understand this program? It's a serious platform.
Okay, Mr. Amara, please go.
Now, building materials is the evidence to say that President Mahama influenced the building. Are they telling us that now that he's a former president, he will take that building away? Is that what they are telling us? Are they also telling us that if President Mahama wanted to build, and I've made that point, for his comfort, wouldn't he ask common sense, logic? Because he knows that one day he'll be a former president. And he still wants his comfort. After comfort is comfort, you still want it. Won't he direct that it will be built in his family house so he can continue enjoying the comfort? All these questions beg what they are talking about. It begs of what they are talking about. See, there is mismanagement at Cocoa Board. Farmers are not happy with what the current management are engaging. The minority has spoken of it. They have no answers. So what they will do is to come and attack the president. We're talking about waste of money. What is more wasteful than to take a huge sum of money and give it to somebody who went to Google and copied Google Map and gave it to them? What is that how to protect the public purse? What is waste of money in this country than you, the MPP, engaging in acts that suggest to this country that you are hiding something from the people of this country? In this regard, I am talking about the Bost matter, when it was covered up by this administration. This administration is the administration that has preferred apology as a form of punishment. And so if a government official, an appointee of the government, misbehave, he's asked to come and apologize.
All right.
Is that the kind of governance that these people Ghanaians voted for?
The
and you are here talking about
has a story on page 2. Sibuatin's apology puts matter to rest. Ayako Botwe is suggesting that the retraction and apology of Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa over his widely condemned statement that he would always put the interests of members of the NPP first above all other Ghanaians should put to rest the matter. Minister of Foreign Affairs Shirley Ayako Botwe has said. That's a story on the Independent. He was speaking to a sister radio, yes, a radio station in Accra, and she said that he's apologized, and so we should put the matter to rest. Eric, I think Ghanaians have actually pushed Mr. Sibuatin to go down on his knees to apologize, and so it should end the matter, Nate.
Well, I think that nobody, I mean, including myself, would countenance a certain perception that as a representative of the country in South Africa, for instance, you would, as it were, be working to a certain group of people, either MPP or NDC or whatever. So it was important that an apology came to the good people of this country to the effect that he misspoke, and regardless of the environment or the context that he must have found himself in, it is not something that should be encouraged. So I am happy that an apology had come, and like you say, it's important that we put it behind us and then expect more. What sort of candor and then decorum from him as a diplomat, and then also to make sure that in time going forward, some of these things are actually dealt with some sort of circumspection. So that is, for me, a good sign that, listen, once you err and you admit that, listen, I erred, and maybe that was not the point, because you see, for some of us who do, and my friend here does it all the time, and he gets away with it.
Speak for yourself.
You see, for some of us who speak on platforms like this,
right,
or engage people politically, there's always a certain tendency. There can be an inclination to probably even play to the gallery a little bit. And if you're not careful, things would come out that you go overboard, and it becomes a problem. You see, when I hear people from the NDC talk about this matter, then I also become a bit more political about it. Listen, there was a gentleman, do you remember John Otibless? John Otibless, Honorable, sat on the platform and actually was part of the people that were denigrating the image of a certain Chief Justice who said all sorts of unpitiable words that I can't actually even repeat on a platform like this. The president at the time, President John Mahama, after the man spoke and actually bringing the image and of the judiciary and the Chief Justice, for that matter, into disrepute, and even when others were sent to Sawam and all of those things, nominated a guy for a deputy minister of local government. What are we talking about?
Is that what you want President Nana to do?
That is why, you see, that is why I'm saying that. When you do this thing, so what? The man has come out, he has apologized for his actions and all of those things. When the issue came up alongside the Montier 3, when Otibless was actually prevented from even being confirmed after he had gone through vetting. He finally got confirmed. Yes, the NDC came out and said that, the guy has apologized and that he rendered an unqualified apology to Parliament and to Ghanaians, so it should be. You see, double standards, hypocrisy and all of those things should not be allowed to be part of our body politics. The point is that I will not sit here, and nobody would sit anywhere and encourage the sort of rhetoric that came from the ambassador. Nobody would do so. But to sit here and take lessons from a brothel, moral lessons from the NDC, is something that I cannot do. And when you do that, then there's this thing that people go on and say that, you are equalizing and all of those things. Eric, the message is as good as the messenger.
Let me ask you this. President Mahama, before President Mahama did the wrong thing,
by elevating John Otibles to the position of a deputy minister. And I
have examples that I can give you. People who are living ex-convicts and all of those things were brought back to and given positions under NDC.
Voted the NDC out because of that. Don't you think that Nana Addo should do the right thing by asking Mr. Isibuatin to step down, so that at least we know that indeed the change that we talked about?
But the thing is that we are jumping the gun. You understand? We are jumping the gun. The first thing is that the gentleman has come out to apologize, right? The hue and cry for him to resign or for him to be sacked. It's a decision that stays with the president. But the point is that... So,
but Mayukubu's statement is not coming from the office of the president.
What I'm saying is
her own statement
it sits with the president. Of course, she's the minister in charge. And that if she says that an apology is good enough and that we should put it behind, we can do so. Then it behoves on the ambassador to display, to come out there and project an image that I am an ambassador for everybody. You understand? And we can put it behind it. This is not something but to take some sort of lessons from the NDC and say that he should by all means be sacked or he should resign based on their track record. It's not something that I can sit here and pretend that if I talk about it, because I get accused of equalizing, I won't talk about it.
I get Johnny to take some comment before I come to you.
Just because it is on record that President Mahama has not lived in that house. City News correspondent was there to give the report. So let it
you are reacting to the fact he said he was the only one who lived in that house.
City News correspondent went to the site and reported to the whole of this country that President Mahama, ever since it was completed, has not lived in that house.
Johnny,
interesting times. Well,
I have to live in that house one day and see how it looks.
Yeah, we should have a weekend there, right? Don't you think? We should have a weekend there.
I drove past when I was coming back from there.
We should go for rural reporting at Golu or some place.
No, very close to
or Longoro, then we can go and sleep there. You know? But good morning. I never enjoyed morning shows until I started watching you guys. I never feel bored for a moment. God bless you so much. He said, Mr. Dancer, please dance more. Okay, good morning, TV3. Please, Kolebu, surgical lift has broken down for a couple of months and the authorities are sitting unconcerned. Daniel in Kolebu. Good morning, I'm Ernest in Accra. Please, my concern is the posting of newly trained teachers. Some of them have passed the exams and even their names are on the class list, but no posting for them. Why? Eric will tell us why. Good morning. The principal of Presbyterian Women College of Education, Ebri, does not want to release our feeding refund for last academic year. Principal claims we can only get them after completion. This is unfair because students are still being compelled to pay fees, which we don't even know what we're paying for. Please, TV3, Honorable Edu Minister, please help us. Genvet in Ebri. Hi, good morning, TV3. I really like your program. Thank you. It says, my name is Stanley. I wish to draw your attention to the unfair treatment made out some newly qualified trained teachers. Okay, we understand the concerns of teachers. We'll get back to them. Good morning, Bright and Co. The apology of Mr. Isibuatin is enough to put the matter to rest. Mr. Blackwell should give us a break. Buzua in Gushegu. Hi, I'd like to know what the red-looking apple badge your crew is adorning for. Well, it's the poppy worn to celebrate or in commemoration of all the veterans who died in the First and Second World Wars, and it's an appeal for funds. So go out there, get one. I'm sure if you go to the
if you buy one, you contribute to
you're contributing
supporting the
veterans. So 37 Military Hospital, VAG House, Bema Camp, you find them around, even in churches, I'm told. Saw BBC News presenters wearing it too. I'd like to know what it represents. Thank you, David. So now you know. Good morning, team. You're doing a great job. The Ministry of Health has decided not to pay School of Hygiene their allowance just because they have been migrated to the Sanitation Ministry, while all our codes and everything we used are under the Ministry of Health. Please do a follow-up for us. Malik Ho in the Volta region. Good morning. I love daily rant. I watch the rant before anything. Thank you. Kofi in Takrady and Naji. Good morning. The only media station we believe, love and trust is TV3. That is why I want you to help get answers for some year beneficiaries who are not being paid or who are not being paid for the last payment made on October. In October, even when you are at post, submit your monthly forms. Senior Bright, there's some kind of lucky job. TV3, make them talk. We'll make them talk. Good morning, TV3. This insurance policy is needless. It's an attempt by the government to create job opportunity for its party faithfuls. The same way this government used TUC and Labour to force the previous government to decentralize the Tier 2 contribution. They should allow the personnel to join their own insurance scheme. The contract should not be given to one particular insurance company whose name we know. The government desperately needs money, so they will do everything to take money from Ghanaians. Jake in Techiman alleges. Alasan Wanaiwa says it's clear that the contract for the Cocoa Board to construct a guest house at Boli in the northern region needless at the time it was awarded. Former President Mahama influenced the award to enable him enjoy comfortable holidays during visits to his constituency. Good morning, TV3. Is the MPP suggesting that Boli doesn't deserve a first-class facility? That's for you, Eric. Bonti Benjamin Achime Bawku says the excuse that Mr. Mahama has a family house in Boli, so he doesn't need the modern 1975 house, is very weird. When he inappropriately received a Ford vehicle from a foreign contractor, didn't he have several cars at his disposal? In fact, he told the world he didn't even like American cars, but still he collected the vehicle. Ghanaians deserve better. A.U. Farouk in Tamale says, shame on the MPP government for wanting to divert our minds from the mismanagement of state funds they created at the Cocoa Board. But MPP and Cocoa Board CEO cannot paint the former president black. Good morning, Bright, and your panel. Is the MPP man saying that the former president didn't have a place to sleep in his hometown until the building was put up? Please tell him he is a nice man, so he shouldn't let it show. Okay, TV3 NewDay, good morning. The MPP people are only trying to give excuses at every given time for their own woeful incompetence. Management of the economy, which is taking a heavy toll on the ordinary Ghanaian. But inshallah, come 2020, the very people who put them there have seen their incapability and will, in the same manner, kick them out. Fake government, hashtag Osman Burkson. Finally, Ghanaians are watching Akufo-Addo. Will he sack the ambassador? Is Cocoa Board not having research center in Boli? Mark in Laura. And finally, good morning, TV3. If this structure was put up, put any of the cocoa up in any of the cocoa growing areas in the southern sector, we wouldn't have heard anything because it isn't, because it's in the northern region. There are questions. Are we trying to say Cocoa Board cannot take any decisions on its own? Osiola in Bolga wants to know. Interesting ones there. But Senior Bright, the teachers are also calling for their kwacha. Yeah. Maybe you want to ask Eric.
No, Eric doesn't work with the teachers. So. All right, Mr. Amalo, please come in there.
Is it not curious that you restore teachers' allowance, but you can't pay those who are working in the field? That is the government you have chosen. Now, you see, this matter of IEC, I said somewhere that Ghanaians should thank IEC for making those statements because he actually articulated the beliefs of the MPP that for them, people from the MPP stock are more Ghanaian than others. Before then, they were conducting their activities but without any voice to tell us that that is the modus operandi of this government. So now it is clear. In fact, IEC himself said that he spoke the mind of the president, and that's what the president believes in. So that is, and I have had opportunity, I will say that I have had an inkling of this particular type of conduct of the MPP when somebody came to me, and I'll mention the name of the organization because he was removed from that organization, perceived to be NDC. He was directed to go and see the party chairman, the acting party chairman. The party chairman, when he went to him, the party chairman said, yes, we are removing you to bring our people. Why didn't your people confirm you? That was the mindset. And so IEC actually spoke about the mindset of the MPP. What they do is, look, let's create unemployment and cause employment. So, Bright, you leave. Then let's employ somebody. And that somebody is the more Ghanaian than you, the Bright. So I'm thankful that we now have a face to all these things that are happening. IEC did not show remorse. Don't forget that after he was captured on tape saying the things that he said, subsequently he granted an interview. When he was asked whether he showed remorse, he said, no, he will not show remorse. And that He stands by what he's saying. And so for them now to haul him to the Flagstaff House and then have him come out to apologize to the people of this country is in tandem with the Nana Addo's government way of punishing erring public officials, which is what?
Not true.
If Otiko Jaba goes out there and misbehaves, call into the Flagstaff House, ask Otiko Jaba, come and apologize. If Burnabu misconducts himself, call him to the Flagstaff House, come out and apologize. What's the name? The whining deputy minister. The whining, what's the name? The whining.
Robert Ahomkalize.
Ahomkalize. Also, tell him to come out and say, I didn't mean what I said. So, we have now seen in this country that instead of sacking people, what you have is apology has now become a form of punishment. So, I cannot see how this man will be punished severely. He will not be punished severely.
I'm grateful.
Because what he has said is just because is just in sync with the thinking of the MPP.
Let me use the last 2 minutes to deal with this one. Times has a story. We'll deal with free SHS challenges. The president has enumerated some of the challenges the SHS is going through. He talks about logistics, infrastructure, classrooms, science labs. He said that it is because enrollment is up 90,000 more students. That's why we're seeing these challenges. But he will deal with it. He says a journey of 5,000 miles begins with the first step. Times is reporting that. Quickly, Eric, just 1 minute to deal with it.
I think that for any major policy implementation, you'd have teething problems, you'd have challenges. And that does not mean that you don't have to start at all. You can't sit there and do a checklist and see that everything has been done before we go out and implement. So you'd have challenges, and the conviction and the commitment from the president is to make sure that we surmount these challenges and make sure that the free SHS becomes something that is successful. And it's only education and education alone that would actually take us to that trajectory that we want to go through in terms of our development. I remember Tony Blair at the time saying education, 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 education. And that's key. We can't progress as a people or develop as a nation without educating our human capital. So for me, the challenges are there, will be surmounted. The most important thing, I mean, and the biggest hurdle really is to actually start it. And the fact that you have close to 90,000 more students. Actually, for me, if you ask me today, has actually made the policy successful. You see, some of us even started school in places where I can't even talk about. You understand? But we are sitting here today because you got an opportunity for somebody to bring you up and then also sort of instill some sort of knowledge into you. So for me, it is about where do we move on from here? If we have challenges today, make sure that next year, by the time the new academic year starts, right, some of these things will not be repeated. And as we go along, it becomes fine-tuned. I remember when the JSS system was introduced, right? It went through similar challenges. Now it's working. I mean, probably still having some issues, but it's working. But when it was starting, even parents actually had to decide that their children will not be able, will not go through the process, and some of the kids were actually pushed up and all of those
Eric,
things.
I'm grateful. You spoke for 2 minutes. Normally, I'm giving you 1 minute.
This is a case of if you cannot control the flood waters, don't open the floodgates. What are they talking about numbers? Didn't they know that when you say free HSS, everybody will come? Didn't they know that? They are talking about 90,000, as if it were another government, 90,000 wouldn't go. If it were another government, would you?
I don't want him to go out.
Stop that. So they should be aware that the problems that we are facing is as a result of their inability to plan well. We used to have, keep quiet. We used to have schools under trees. Now we have dormitories under trees. As I speak, we have dining halls under trees. Would you put your children to such inhumane treatment?
The president said we'll deal with them.
The president, his daughters, would he put them through such things? They will go and be sleeping in tents? Are they in prison? Even prisoners nowadays, we are trying to decongest so they sleep well. So what kind of behavior is this? It's a good program, but the timing is bad. You said that we built a Photoshop. Our e-blocks were Photoshop. You have transferred students to that place. But for even our e-blocks, the matter would have been worse. Can you imagine this type of government?
All right, I am grateful for your time with us. Amara is a member of the NDC's communication team and legal practitioner. Erika Mwakuchum is the Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, a member of the NPP. Gentlemen, grateful for a Friday morning with us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Hope to see you and wish you a great.
Now we can go and have a dialogue.
Who wants to have a dialogue?
Great Friday. Those of you who said your comment, we are grateful. It's a Friday. Take it. And they are very good friends when they are off the platform. So don't think that they bite at each other. Have a great morning. But we're taking you to the court, letting you know what transpired in the course of the week. Welcome to the courts.
This week in court, witness managing consultant of Goodwill International Group, Philip Akpena Sibit, telling an Accra High Court the state is pushing for the court to believe the contract between him and NYEP never existed because he cannot get access to some documents. He insisted the contract between his consultancy firm and NYEP existed, stressing some individuals have hidden some documents from the court to prevent him from properly pursuing his case. Philip Akpena Asibi told the court he had a contract with NYEP, but former Director General of Management, Development and Productivity Institute, MDPI, Dr. Shaibu Gariba, will not make available some documents for his defense. He argued if he had no contract with NYEP, why will the predecessor of Dr. Gariba, Dr. Martin Zame, witness the previous MOU and tripartite agreement signed by GIG, NYEP and Westcam, where he was also briefed of other engagements? An Accra Circuit Court has granted bail to 26 Togolese nationals arrested for staging an unlawful demonstration against President Faure Gnassingbé. This was after they pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of charges. The charges are conspiracy to commit crime, to wit failure to inform the police of an event, failing to notify the police, and offensive conduct constituting breach of peace. The court, presided over by Justice Priscilla Dapamreku, took the plea of 25 of them, with 6 being women. The 26th person claimed to be 11 years could not be taken. According to the prosecutor, Chief Inspector Evans Kessie, the Accra Regional Police Command on Saturday at around 9:15 a.m. got a hint that some Togolese nationals were demonstrating at the Nima Kaokudi Park with some riding motorbikes recklessly on Nima Highway. The police immediately moved in and picked up 26 of them, including 2 leaders who were part of some 300 demonstrators. An Accra High Court ruled if it grants an interlocutory injunction in favor of Public Utilities Workers Union, greater hardship will befall government and the Millennium Challenge Compact 2 program. Delivering her ruling, Justice Lauren Dowusu said ECG workers do not stand to suffer any serious damages as compared to the serious hardship and damages that the state will endure. The Public Utilities Workers Union PU filed an application at the Labour Court saying they fear some workers will lose their jobs following the power compact signed with the United States of America under the Millennium Challenge Corporation Power Compact 2 program. PU argued that the decision to cede ECG to a concessionaire constituted a severance of the ECG workers' employment. The Attorney General has withdrawn a motion filed at the Court of Appeal seeking to put on hold a High Court decision the Immigration Service restored the work and residence permit of an Indian businessman, Ashok Sivram. The court awarded the cost of 2,000 cedis against the state. Ashok Kumar Sivram has for the past 3 months been engaged in a legal tussle with the Immigration Service over his residence and work permit, which was withdrawn by the service. This move has already been quashed by an Accra High Court with another order directing restoration of the permit within 7 days. This has not been done by the state attorney handling the case, Jasmine Ama, headed to the Court of Appeal to challenge the order. She also filed another application seeking to hold the court order. However, in court on Wednesday, the AG represented by Jasmine Ama withdrew the application for stay of execution, stating no reason for the state's decision. An Accra High Court also thrown out lawyer Maxwell Opoku-Agyemang's application challenging the legality of lawyer Thaddeus Sori as counsel for Electoral Commission Chair Charlotte Osei in the petition filed against her. The presiding judge, Justice Kweku Akabuafo, dismissed the application, describing it as one that lacked merit. Given his ruling, presiding judge Justice Kweku Akabuafo explained there was no conflict of interest because the case is not between the Electoral Commission and Charlotte Osei. He added that lawyer Thaddeus Sori has not acted for both the plaintiff and defendant in this case. Justice Akabuafo maintained EC is not party to the suit and one can only establish conflict of interest only when the lawyer cannot protect the interests of the commission, which is not in this application. And finally, an Accra Circuit Court has issued a bench warrant for the immediate arrest of 27-year-old Francis Boakye for fraud and impersonation. Francis Boakye reportedly duped his victims to the tune of 28,000 cedis under the pretense of recruiting them into the Ghana Army. Francis Boakye is also alleged to have posed as a military officer with the Ghana Armed Forces. Francis Boakye hails from the Ashanti region and stands at 5 feet 9 inches tall. He is slightly built, dark in complexion, and has a tribal mark on the right cheek.
Welcome back and thank you very much. I'm excited because I'll show you a man who plies his trade with great felicity of style. He's got the musical touch. He's a musical legend, a jazz saxophonist and multi-instrumentalist who's traveled all the way from overseas to join us here in West Africa for the big fat Stanbic Bag Jazz Festival. We call it the Sax and Strings on the Cruise. He's joined me here with one other fantastic gentleman who we all learned from back on the day on radio, Kojo Labi of Stanbic Bank and Gerald Albright himself. It's a pleasure to shake hands with you. My for pleasure. A man who makes all your money with your fingers. My pleasure. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's an excitement to have you here. Welcome to Ghana. Is this your first time in Ghana?
First time in Ghana, yes. And I'm really enjoying it. I've only been here 2 days, but within that 2 days, it's been a great experience. Love the people here. We had a great show last night.
Right.
One of 2 of the shows that we're doing here this week, and just very excited.
Interesting that. Have you had any of our foods yet? Has Kojo introduced you to any of our foods yet?
A few dishes, yes. I'm looking forward to a day off where I could really capture the essence of the food here.
Right.
But everything, since we've landed, everything's been rush, you know, doing the shows and the promo and everything.
Kojo, we've been doing the Stanbic Bank Jazz Festival since 2014. You're a local bank with a global viewpoint. What's different this year?
All right. When and let me thank viewers first for we getting a chance to chat with them this morning,
right?
And especially TV3 for the great support you've offered us so far. Yes, regarding your question, yeah. So for the past 4 years, we've had one main act each year, but this year we decided to move a bit higher,
a
notch higher. So in addition to Gerardo is here, right by me,
right?
We'll be joined on stage tonight by another legend,
okay,
the Cameroonian Richard Bonner.
Wow.
So it means you are having 2 headline acts at the same time, and somewhere, not at the bottom, just on the side, you have Tom Braxton, the returning Ghanaian.
Are you serious about this?
I'm serious.
Albright, Bonner, oh my God.
And then Tom Braxton, and somewhere, as we say in Ghana, you chalk somewhere down there, you have all these Ghanaian acts who are also massive.
The Akablaze and everybody else.
Steve Badies, I mean, just mention them. There are 2 men, okay? So it's always been great. This year, I don't want to go greatest because I don't know what will happen next year.
Okay.
But this year will be greater.
Albert, you've had the opportunity to be known and called the musician's musician, a straight to the point contemporary jazz artist.
Yes.
How have you managed to stay at the top? And you've done this for so long.
Well, it's the passion initially. I'm still passionate after 30 years of being a recording artist. But I think it's staying true to your art too. There's a lot of artists that, you know, kind of follow somebody because they have a good sound at that particular point, you know, or a hit record at that particular point. I've always tried to be genuine Gerald, you know, just write and produce my own music.
Right.
And in a live setting, you know, convey to the audience what an authentic Gerald Albright show is.
Interesting. You were born in the same year Ghana was born, 1957. We're 60 this year.
I just found that out yesterday.
How does that make you feel?
Well, I'm honored. I'm honored to be here. I was honored to get the invitation from Stanbic Bank. So hopefully we can make this a regular thing and I can come back time and time again and perform for the
What should we come expecting tonight from you?
We love to party. We
Okay.
we bring the music, we perform 200%, we give all that we have, but we like the audience to be a part of our show. So with the 18 records that I've had out for the past 30 years, we're going to do, you know, handpick a lot of the songs that this wonderful country knows and loves, and then we're just going to party with them. We want them to be part of the whole essence of what we're trying to do.
The ambience usually at the Stanbic Jazz Festival is numero uno, and the reviews after the shows have spoken about it. This year, what ambience are we going to have? You want to?
We're cruising.
We're cruising.
Actually, we're cruising.
Okay.
We're cruising to the sax and strings. So just imagine yourself being on a cruise. For those who have been on a cruise, a jazz cruise, they know what it's like. And if you have never been on that one, just imagine being on a boat with constant, perpetual jazz tunes coming from the likes of the Legend by Me, the Bonus of this world, Acablaze of this world. That's the whole idea. With the sea waves just making you kind of in between this world and the other one. That's the whole idea.
Swinging low on the strings of love. You have so many hits, Gerald, so many of them. Off the top of your head, which ones are we going to hear tonight? Just about 5 of your favorites.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think one of the most popular is So Amazing.
Right.
Which was my very first single back in 1987. We're going to do Bermuda Nights, which has kind of an islandish overtone to it. My, which is a wonderful cover song from Johnny Gill back in the day. So we're going to do some covers and we're going to do some original music as well. All different moods, all different tempos, and what we try to do is create a positive experience for the audience. So a little bit of everything.
Talk of jazz globally, and you go to New Orleans first, but you come from Los Angeles.
Yes.
How did you sharpen and hone yourself into this jazz business?
Well, I started playing piano when I was 8 years old. I didn't like piano at the time. My private teacher switched me to the saxophone.
Okay.
And at that point, because my older brother had all of James Brown's albums in the house, this is what I was listening to. So I initially got an R&B flavor from James Brown.
Okay.
And Maceo Parker, who was the famous saxophone player that for many years played with James Brown. I really zeroed in on his sound, and I loved how he played alto sax.
Okay.
So that's how I got into the R&B/jazz world. And then later on in high school and college, I was introduced to Cannonball Adderley, who is one of my all-time favorite traditional and soulful jazz artists. And so if I had to describe my sound, it would be a combination of Maceo and Cannonball Adderley. And that's how the whole jazz thing with the saxophone came about.
I'm happy to have you here. We're wrapping up. So tickets, where do we get them? What time is the show? Where are we cruising from?
So we're cruising at the Accra International Conference Center.
Right.
From 5. I mean, the show starts at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Gates open.
On the Mac?
Gates open, 5 o'clock. So you get into the groove for the main cruise.
Okay.
So the mini cruise happens in the foyer.
Right.
Come 7 o'clock on the dot. The doors to the auditorium will open.
Okay.
Like the one that you walk the gangplank and into the ship.
Okay.
And here we go. Action to party.
What will be happening in the foyer 5 to 7?
Yeah, so...
You know I like Okonza, so...
It's okay. So I told you we have a number of Ghanaian acts lined up. So what we do is that we mix it up. So day one, you have a number of acts playing. Day two, you have some playing in the foyer, and then others will play in the main auditorium. So it's the same plan, right? So then when you get in there, after everybody has done their show, all right, Gerald comes on, and then Richard Bona will top the bill, and then that's
I see. Interesting.
That's for today. Then tomorrow, Gerald will not play. So if you have missed Gerald, you have to see Gerald tonight.
If not, you miss your chance.
That's the point. Because tomorrow, you will top the bill with Bona. With Tom Braxton. Tom played last night. He's not playing tonight. Right? And then these two.
So it's 2-1-2-1.
That's the whole point. It's not a 4-4-2 business. So talking about tickets, so all our branches at the mall. Accra Mall, West Hill Mall, Junction Mall, Achimota Mall, and then Accra Main, Stanbic Heights, they have the tickets. And then you can also go onto our website. Just reserve Accra Tema. We'll deliver to you quickly.
Beautiful.
Free of charge. www.stanbicjazzfestival.com.
Okay. We're wrapping up. Coco says we need to go. But this year's is remarkable because we're supporting malaria, a fight against malaria with this. And so we'll entreat everybody to be there to support this. But thank you very much, Kujulabi, Stanbic Bank, for having us. And Gerald, thank you very much for coming. Pleasure. We'll be there tonight to see you. I look forward to seeing you there. I'd request for a song when I come.
Okay.
And enjoy your stay in Ghana. We'll take a break here. We'll return shortly here on NewDay. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Well, I'll use this opportunity to say happy birthday to Benaya Boche, son of Dr. Mrs. Boche and Mr. Isaac Boche. Happy birthday from Mommy and Daddy. Stay blessed. You are 1 year. I doubt you can hear, but I'm sure you can see us. We're saying happy birthday. Have a good day. Stay blessed. Grow in the stature and wisdom of God.
And in that same line, let me say happy birthday to you, Kobi Esanti Efrifa. It was yesterday was your birthday. And Reverend Mike Niamose, my big brother, Joy FM. Yesterday was your birthday as well.
Reverend Mike Niamose.
Yes, it's my big brother. Francisca Sefako Kumaho. The Children's Hospital yesterday was your birthday as well. So 3 for you. If it's your birthday today, chill out.
It's a Friday.
Yeah,
actually,
enjoy.
You can extend it from now till Sunday. And then.
But if you go to work on Monday at dawn.
And there's a lot this weekend.
There's a rice festival starting today.
Yes, the Kettle Road will be exciting. I love the beaches there.
They're very neat. The Volta beaches are very neat.
The coconut trees are very, very exciting.
The water is fresh as well. Anyway, but guys, you know we're running on an initiative to lead the charge for inclusive education for children with cerebral palsy. And we've been talking about it several weeks down the line, and we hope we're seeing results. At least yesterday we heard from Mrs. Hannah Awaji that the government seems to have started responding. So we're grateful for your support as well. We're still asking for more stakeholders to come on board. Let's all speak. Don't wait for a child of yours to be involved before you think it's time for you to speak up.
We will not stop speaking, stop talking about it until we get appropriate help. Because yes, we have the laws, yes, we have the policy. What is left is implementation, and we must find money to implement it, the groundwork. And I believe that we must scratch the people where they itch. If you put up a cluster of schools, say like the Kanda cluster of schools, 4 schools bumped into one, and you don't have even one class for people with special needs, then it's problematic. So it's about time that moving forward, we need to start inculcating these people into our educational structure so that we don't put all of them in a class where the teacher says, do you understand that they sing the chorus? Yes, sir. Yes, madam. And yet they don't.
And it was nice to hear Farida say for her, she was included in school, not really to assess her academically, but at least for her to be included in a part of a larger society. And that was instructive for me, because if government is looking at it as that, then they'll be willing to actually include these children, because their creative skills tend to come out more than actually their, let's say, mental capacity. So we shouldn't necessarily be looking out for academic prowess of these children, but at least to have them join a broader society and be integrated into the society as a whole.
If you paid attention to Farida's narrative yesterday, she started using computers at a very early age. I mean, and because she knew what the deficiency was, she had support from her parents, and I think that is because she trained outside. Because we've had music therapists, and we'll share that conversation with you. A music therapist who has had, a chance to engage children with cerebral palsy and other defects or conditions of similar nature, and how music has helped them to come along quickly and heal. Now, Farida is one of the most sought after programmers in the world. And it doesn't matter her condition.
And that's what it means to help a child.
Exactly, exactly. So if you help them, they have potential. They can excel. They are like everybody else.
And she says also the willingness of the teachers. I would want these teachers will appeal to you to see them as your own. It could happen to you. And so put yourself in the shoes. Yes, GES may not have the policies as it stands now to help you, but at least try and brighten the corner where you are, because she said it took 2 head teachers from her schools to actually get her involved, and it worked. And the students came along because the teachers bought into the idea, and that was 92. We've come way down the line to have
the key thing for me, the talk at the top, it's okay. At least it has been agreed that let us bring these kids who have special needs into the mainstream. But now the talk is about what is on the ground. That's where the problem is. Everyone agrees generally, if you look at it, what is on the ground is where the problem is. You go to the schools, where to put them, who to teach them, the logistics, they are not there. So the teachers might talk about it, education directors will talk about it, ministers will talk about it, the president himself will talk about it, but we need to see on the the logistics, the structures to get these persons to be cared for. Other than that, like we're saying, we leave them behind. And if we leave them behind, it won't be a system that we'll be happy with.
But again, I would also want to remind government that maybe sometimes we always look at the big things, like we're waiting to have all the logistics in place before we kickstart, but they can start small. We have, not all of them will necessarily need to be put in a particular seating way or need a specific chair and all that. So the few who can even maybe deal with, let's say, a bedding of some sort in the classroom, why don't we start with that? Mattresses, a few mats here and there. Maybe if we start looking at it small, we can do something to change the narrative.
And I think that also, this is where we would need corporate Ghana to step in, you know, because if government obviously looks like it's a handicap in terms of funds and other things, this is where corporate Ghana would want to step in and support, because the Mothers Project, the Special Mothers Project, they have 3 things. 1, include our children. 2, engage us so that if we don't even have teachers to do that, we can do it because we know our children and we have been doing this for some time. And 3, the nurses who are at home, who have not been posted, give them some physiotherapy education training and let them go and handle some of these things. So this is a NewDay campaign for inclusive education for children with cerebral palsy. And speaking about that, we're talking about social protection as well. If you have cerebral palsy and you get, for example, into a trotro and it is a Benz bus with those high stairs, how do you climb into it?
The one that tears your slip.
Exactly. How do you climb into it? So and you see the new Ayalolo buses that we have doesn't even factor in the hydraulics, like you have hydraulic steps like you have in other places where it will bring it down and then the people themselves can take their wheelchair on. I think that is dehumanizing for you to get to a location and not have ramps, and so somebody would have to carry you. If I sat in a wheelchair and somebody has had to carry me, I would feel very bad about it.
Always depending on someone.
Exactly, but I can be independent, and I'm particularly worried because, and I hope that when Farida and the team go to Parliament to present the petition to Parliament, they will talk to them about the fact that 10 years after the Disability Act was passed, even Parliament doesn't have the ramps.
The very place
even
where
the laws were made doesn't have the ramps. And you, I don't know. But we won't stop talking, as we've told you. We won't stop talking.
But it's the weekend and we are...
And hey, it's Moon Syriakos' birthday, Moon Sango.
Oh, that's a birthday.
Yes, one-time co-host here on NewDay. Well, we're looking forward to Moon joining us so we can have
I see.
Happy birthday, stay blessed, enjoy the day.
I like the way Moon introduced the show. It's like today is what, 3rd? She says it's the 3rd day of November 2017 in the year of the Lord.
Certainly.
Happy birthday to you, Moon. And it's Friday, so Community Connect is on 3 to 4 p.m. on 3FM 92.7. Remember, it's an award-winning show, so you can't miss it. You need to watch it. Come on.
We'll see you same time on Monday.
Okay.
We'll be here.